back. Hello, everyone.
Hey guys,
Hello.
how you doing?
We are back, Gurdev Anmol from Paris and Baz Real Estate, to bring on to the season 3 of the much beloved podcast, Paris and Baz Cast, to discuss all things real estate and finance. We started about 2019, actually. With all the different guest speakers and industry professionals covering your questions. So all of this, that discussion points that we bring on are all coming through from the questions that we are seeing from yourself as our listeners. So do continue to send them through. Hello to everyone coming on. We're live on Instagram and on Facebook. What brings us here today is to give you a bit of a recap of what we've seen in 2022, how 22 has started, what we are seeing in the buyers and sellers side of things, what's happening with interest rates. There's a lot of conversation about when it might go up, because it is a ticking time bomb, which it's only a matter of time. Rentals, sales, and mortgages are 3 services that we provide. So let's get started.
So how's the market?
How's the market? Exactly.
So I think we've seen a strong start to the year to the market. Stock is still a little bit tighter. More listings on the market this year compared to last year. Yeah. But I'm seeing some suburbs that don't have that much stock on the market at the moment. So strong results still being achieved.
Very strong.
In a lot of the suburbs. So I think it's still a great time to sell. So if you're looking at selling, I think you should cash in now. They're predicting the market to drop a little bit. There's articles coming out, but look, who knows?
Who knows?
Last time they all said the market went the other way, 50-60%.
And that's interesting what has happened in the first 2 months, or about 6 to 8 weeks of 2022, is the fact that there was a whole doom and gloom predicted, and it hasn't been that bad. Yes, there's been some suburbs and some kinds of properties that are still affected. I mean, if a property is a standard home with a bedroom, bathroom, garage with a functional layout, it's still attracting a lot of interest. When it's out of a box, which is a little bit different layout, and that's where the market is becoming a lot more niche for those kinds of properties. So we're seeing that on those kinds of properties, days on market is increasing. And the expectations of the owners versus what's being achieved, some areas they're surpassing that, and the other areas are not as much as what the vendors are expecting. I
think where the property is positioned right, priced right, still getting great results.
That's it.
We're not really seeing a downturn in the prices as such. But I think this time with the interest rates, they're going to increase end of the year. I think that could be a deterring factor. So So look, let's sort of recap on what we are hearing the buyers saying. I think the top 3 things that I'm seeing. I mean, one of the funniest things that we were talking about is we stated a price guide of a property, and the response was, well, what's the price after discount? What's the discount?
What's the discount?
You're not at the market today.
It's not Parkley Markets. But it's one of those things. And on that topic, it is very different for our the market that we operate in Northwest Sydney versus sort of the east and the northern beaches, the communication and the conversations we have with our agent friends. When a price guide is stated to be from X to Y, that is typically what the owner is considering, that's saying that the owner is considering offers within this sort of price guide. However, the trend in most of the sales that we do is whatever the lower end of price guide is, they start a lot lower than that. And if you did that on the northern beaches or in the eastern suburbs, you will not, it will not be entertained because it's not in the stated price guide. So it just makes it very different.
I just think it's a more a mindset.
It is.
When putting the offers forward. But the market's been so hot last year, I think everything's selling above the guide anyway.
Exactly. And the other thing that we're hearing buyers saying is that, look, we've got, the market's going to be changing. There's a lot of supply. That's why there's discounting happening. But as we were mentioning, yes, there is increase in supply, but in some areas and some suburbs.
There's no stock on the market.
Exactly. So we're talking about Bella Vista Waters, for example, very minimal transactions. This is an area of about 500 prestige homes. Very minimal transactions in a year. A block of land, 700 squares, is selling for what?
2.7.
2.7 is the highest.
If another one comes on the market, probably 3 million plus.
Yeah, so because there is not that much supply and there's a lot of demand. Everyone wants to be in this area.
But what I say to all buyers and vendors, if you're looking to upgrade, look, there's never wrong time to buy.
That's right.
If you're buying for your family and you're going to live there for the next 10 years, look, if you look at the history of real estate, you'll be winning.
That's it. And that's the third thing that we're hearing most commonly by buyers is that, look, it's too unaffordable. We can't enter the market. However, given the circumstances of where you're entering in the property cycle, where the market is still going up or is stabilizing, by the time you're entering to purchase, you've kind of stopped that clock because you've entered the market. And from there on, your equity is already growing the longer you are, for a couple of months. And that's what we've seen. Last year, people that bought in January versus what the property value was in December, they'd already made money within a couple of months. So I think it's just a matter of that sentiment that, yes, it's XE, that's a lot of prices are going up, but at the same time you're entering the market, stopping that clock, and then making money because you've entered.
And there's always going to be ebbs and flows in the market as well. You can't time a market.
That's right.
If you want to wait for it, look, you only know later on when the market's peaked or troughed. So
it's not the time in the market; it is time in the market. How long you've actually held the property.
And what's the best decision for your family as well?
That's right.
So
Everyone's
what we've seen is unit prices, for example, haven't increased much over the last couple of years. And I was seeing a paragraph last week. It's the biggest price difference between houses and units ever. So it's more than double, I think. So units, I think, are a bit undervalued. Let's see how they'll go this year, next year, but but houses still selling strongly. So if you're looking to sell, now's the time. Now
is the time, absolutely. Look, and I think units is one of those areas that potentially will come back once the housing becomes so unaffordable that units will start to come back.
And also with the migration as well.
That's right. Once everything opens back up again.
Deterring factor where units are traditionally strong. For
people entering the market.
Talking
about that, from a price point of view, I read a very interesting article by Arjun Paliwal, one of the buyer's agents we frequently have on our podcast. We're aiming to tee up a time with him to bring him back on again. The article was about, in New South Wales, which areas can you buy under 650? So that's something that would be very interesting to share. We'll bring him on to discuss that in more detail. If you're watching, would love to be able to set up a time with you to discuss that one further. What are the sellers saying? I think one of the other things, one of the common denominators that we're getting from the sellers in this market, which is very popular in terms of the interest, is it's only been a week. We've only been in market for a week. Now, having sold as many houses that we have, the transactions that we've seen in our career, good offers come early.
They come early.
It's just like with anything in life, anything that the early bird catches the worm. Anyone that's an early riser gets a lot done. If you're starting into sports early, you're getting somewhere in life. So everything that happens early happens for a reason, and is one of the best options for when it comes from an offer's point of view.
So if it's a good, serious offer in the first week, it should be considered. But we shouldn't just reject it.
Yeah, because it's only been on the market for a week.
Because that can be fraught with danger. In the second, third, fourth week, you could be getting lower offers. And you've missed a hot buyer with a serious offer, which
Yeah, exactly. This is a live show, by the way, so if you are enjoying what you're seeing and if you have any questions, do feel free to send us through and provide your feedback while we are live. Now, so going back on, it's only been on the market for a week. Yes, definitely consider the feedback that you are getting on your property, because the property is worth what the market's willing to pay for it.
And I think it's very important for the agent to educate the vendor to say where the property is priced and whether it's a serious offer, which should be considered as well.
Yeah, so where the offers are coming from and where the expectations are, there's sometimes an anomaly to be able to educate them. It's just like when you're going to buy bananas, for example. If the longer that they stay on the market, on the shelf, they are going to deteriorate. So that's what happens with listings once they stay on for too long. if they don't go in the first week or so.
And this could be a transitioning market. Look, I think the next month will be, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it's very important for the vendors to be educated by the agent to see where the property price sits and what should be considered. Because last year, you're guiding a price and we're selling 200-300 above reserve or 500. I think at the moment, you've got to be a little bit careful when pricing a property. Yes, you want to get the maximum, but you don't want to get too greedy as well.
That's right. And where last year was 200-300, now it's 100-200.
Yeah.
So, the rate of increase has declined. Yeah. But the other thing is, if the trend is that towards the end of the year, we'll get to that next topic of the cash rate. If there is a prediction of those decreasing at the end of this year, which means that you are selling high and you're buying low. Yeah. Which is ideal for someone that is upgrading, that you're selling the property at the maximum price, and then when you're upgrading, you're getting that sort of money back by buying it at a different time in the market. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let's talk about interest rates. What have you heard?
Obviously, the fixed rates have gone up 5-6 times over
independently.
So since October, so the variable rates are definitely going to go up. July, August, they're bringing it forward. So. Look, I was just doing some calculations yesterday. We're getting sub 2%, 1.79 on fixed rates owner occupied last year. Now they're nearly up to 269, 279. So that's 1% increase.
Wow.
So on $1 million mortgage, that's a $10,000 extra interest. So if the interest rates go from 2, say to 3, 3.5, 4, that's 20,000 extra interest repayments on $1 million loan. So obviously, people that are carrying big debt. It could be interesting to see what happens end of the year.
Yeah.
And I do know when people don't see the property prices going up, even if they're not going down and they're staying stable, people start to panic a little bit as well because they're carrying big debt. So I think that's the difference that could be between the boom from last time to this time. The interest rates didn't increase. The market went the other way. Stock was short. So this time the rates are going to rise. I think it can't stay this low. Money's still very cheap. Don't get me wrong. It's still like even around 3%.
That's still cheap in comparison to.
But once it starts going up close to the 4% mark, I think then it'll be interesting to see how everyone reacts. But in saying that, I think the serviceability calculators, with all the banks, they're buffered at 3% buffers. So I think people will still be able to afford the mortgage repayments, but it'll be just interesting to see how they handle their other expenses.
So they're already factoring that in. Hello, Simmer. Lovely to have you join us. They are already factoring in the fact that increases are coming, which is your serviceability is also
that's why you want to be look really careful. Look at your financial situation to see where you currently stand and what you're trying to achieve.
Definitely Gurdev is the man to talk to about that. Now, in terms of what factors actually contribute to a change in RBA's cash rate, one of the things, along with a lot of other variables, is inflation, which is currently within the set band of 2 to 3%, as well as unemployment and a lot of other factors. So unemployment naturally at the moment with COVID situation, it's still quite high. But the inflation is one to watch, where if it goes up that 2 to 3% band, that's when you're going to see some action being taken by the government to be able to stabilize that and bring it more in line with what would be more natural. So so stay tuned. So I mean, a lot of the articles that are coming out, the conversation has been previously 2024 is when they'd mentioned that it would go up. Then 2023, and now the latest chat as of this month, when there was the RBA meeting on the first Tuesday of the month, is that there's potentially, depending on what factors, as we've discussed, where they are by the end of this year, sort of around November, December. Around November, there is
even
chances.
Even
earlier,
and
there are chances.
And this is the first time we're seeing in the last couple of years that the variable rates are cheaper than the fixed rates. The fixed rates have normally been cheaper than the variable rates, but now it's gone the other way.
That's right.
So, which is definitely a sign. So if you look at the 3-4 year fixed rates, they're 3.5% plus. So, which is another indication the rates are definitely going to go up.
Rates are going to go up. There you go. Well, okay. Well, if you're not buying a property, you are renting a property, and oh my God.
The rental market is absolutely on fire.
Oh, wow. So the number of applications we are processing per property, it's just crazy. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think we've seen that across multiple suburbs. We've got properties
in multiple
suburbs, different demographics.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the same same thing.
Basically. Same result. So look, being an independent agency, we do operate throughout Sydney. You know, we've got from northwest to southwest and so on. The level of interest in houses is quite consistent throughout Sydney. The trends that we're seeing is that tenants are willing to offer more. That's one, like $50 to $100 more than the asking rental price. Rent in advance is becoming quite common. Even people are taking out a 6-month lease, 12-month lease and offering the whole period in advance.
That's how competitive it is.
That is how competitive it's becoming. So it's one of those things that, you know, when you are looking at entering the rental market, don't get disheartened that you're not getting into the first property that you're applying for. Allow for the fact that there will be multiple applications required for you to be able to get in to one of the every property that we have on the market, which makes it a lot easier for those that are interested in seeing our properties to even just you know, vet them on online to see if they're suitable for them or not. And we're always proactive and happy to help if you have questions about dimensions and sizes and whatnot and you can't get to a property. We can always work out a way to help you out from that point of view. So if it makes your search easier by us providing you with extra information, then why not? So do definitely reach out to us. We've had a great running since January in terms of sales. Strong start to the year. Sales as well as rentals have been very good results coming through. And I think that there's a lot of...
so I think overall, I think great results have been achieved. Leasing, sales. So if you're in the market, definitely for selling, I think now's the time to go.
Definitely.
Leasing, you probably have to be patient. Yeah, stock is very tight, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I think to find a property for lease.
I think rentals is going to be the same throughout the year as well. So yeah,
absolutely.
So we're looking for a strong year.
Strong year ahead, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. If there are any questions, do feel free to send them through. We're happy to answer them afterwards as well. And do feel free to send through recommendations of who we should have next on our podcast. We've got a number of industry professionals lined up already. We're just teeing up the dates with them for this year, for season 3 of Paris and Bazcast. And you can find this everywhere on all of the podcast channels. So we do the video, which is what you're hearing us live come through on Facebook and Instagram. And then we also convert this into the audio podcast applications. So it will be on all of the social media channels and all of our podcast channels. Any final words before we...
No, any questions? Do hit us up. We're always here to help.
Always here
the
to
3
help.
facets. So yeah.
There you go. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you have a lovely rest of the weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Thank you.